recruitment for some of Manchester United's rivals has been so sharp in recent years, and also given that the new manager is now public, will the focus now shift towards player recruitment, exits, loans?
I don't know. This is a question you have to ask to the board. My focus is on the last remaining 4 games and getting the best out of those 4 games. But about recruitment process, if you have questions on that, it's better you speak to the board.
Ralph, can we get your reaction to the news this week that Erik ten Hag is going to be the next United manager? I know you haven't wanted to talk about that and you want to focus on the games, but now we know it's going to be him. What's your reaction to that news?
We don't know each other in person. We haven't met as yet in person, but from what I've seen him doing both at Bayern Munich when he was the under-23 coach and at Ajax now, I like his football, and I'm pretty positive that with a pre-season, with a full pre-season, with having the chance to build and mold his own staff, also a new team, which is obvious. We will have a new team. With a full pre-season, I'm pretty sure that we will see a different team and improvement on the pitch.
Have you had any involvement in the process? Have you had any conversations with the board about his appointment? And do you know anything yet about your own role next season?
Well, I knew that Erik was one of the candidates the board spoke to, and obviously I told them, at least from what I had seen and known from people who had worked with Erik, that I think he would be a good choice, and I still believe that he is a very good choice. And all the other things we haven't had time so far to speak about.
Ralph, what have you made of the way Arsenal have played under Mikel Arteta? What do you think of their style of play?
Yeah, very fresh, very extremely young team, probably on average the youngest team in the league. Knowing that we spoke about that earlier on, that they lost the first 3 games away at Brentford 2-0. I remember me watching that game on TV, and I think they just draw the right conclusions of what they experienced earlier on in the season. Brought in some young players, Odegaard, for example, got rid of some players who didn't fit into that style of football. Yeah, it's high attacking team with fast strikers, pretty aggressive in the first third, always trying to press and counter press, but still also vulnerable at the back. So yeah, I mean, I like watching them actually, but hopefully not against us tomorrow. So it's up to us to be aware and prepared for what they're doing up front, but at the same time take advantage of the space that we hopefully will get in their half.
In terms of your Champions League ambitions, do you need to win the match?
I don't think that it makes sense to speculate about how likely it still is that we can finish 4th or wherever. It doesn't make sense after a performance like that at Liverpool. We just need to make sure that we play far better. This is the only way to deal with it. We need to get the best possible team on the pitch and then play in a different way with more conviction, with more confidence, with more aggressive behavior on the pitch. I mean, the way that we played at Liverpool, especially in the first half, it will be difficult to get something out of the game at Arsenal, but we will have to change show a completely different performance.
Ralph, what has the players' reaction been to that defeat against Liverpool? Have you seen it in training, their desperation to put things right?
When we only trained yesterday, because the day after the game obviously was recovery. Yesterday we trained some things, some issues in connection with the game, but the only real training session we are going to have is now in 1 hour's time. So yeah, but I mean they were as disappointed as we all were. So obviously it's now up to the players and to us to show a reaction on the pitch tomorrow.
Ralph, do you think there'll be a lot of ins and outs at the end of the season? I mean, I'm sure you've got a figure in your head, but will you be passing that information on to Erik of how many players you think that are needed to come in the summer?
I mean, it's obvious that there are quite a few players whose contracts are expiring. There might be a few others who, although they still have contracts, are already on loan and still want to be on loan or leave the club. So it will be a significant change and rebuild necessary. That's clear. But how many players and on which positions? As I said, I haven't spoken to Eric in person as yet. But if he asks me my opinion in person, I'm obviously ready and willing to speak with him about my experience. But on the other hand, he also will have his own ideas. But I mean that it's not only 3 or 4 new players is obvious, bearing in mind how many players' contracts are expiring.
A must-win game for Man United and Ralf Rangnick in order to keep their top 4 hopes alive. Farish, okay, yes. This is your segment now, okay? With Erik ten Hag coming on board, what do you think he brings with him? I hear that he's a very much a detailed man, so you know he can fix all the little cracks that's happening within United right now. But I also heard he's not like a very warm person. Macam, on first impression, dia macam a bit cold. So how will the players react to that?
I think what will he bring is that freshness lah, you know, to reset the button and rebuild again for the, I don't know, 4 or 5 times for the past 7 years, 8 years. But I'm hopeful that this time around it will be a positive one. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm hopeful that the board will actually give him time lah. Okay, but then again, you're talking about Manchester United. Time, when I said time, it can't be 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It should be, I don't know, 2, 3 years. I mean, I'm being realistic as a United fan. I think most of United fan dekat luar tu pun would want to see some progress within that year. Back to like how Klopp took Liverpool in 2016. Few years, you masuk Champions League final dah. You know, those kind of progress. Yalah, that's the fan punya part lah kan. And going back to what Rim said about him not being a warm so-called manager, that's the reason why it should be his team. Like what Rangnick said just now, that it will be a new team kan. I don't know, 10 players ke 6 players out, so it should be Erik ten Hag's team rather than whatever we have now. Because you like it or not, one of the reason why United are where they are now is, I think, is the players punya ego, players punya, you know, like what happened to Ole, what happened to even Rangnick now. You can see like it's disjointed. We are not saying players yang 2-3 tier level bawah tau. You're talking about Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, Harry Maguire that I can say performed better last year during the Euros and then suddenly become him now. Other players, you know, the defenders and all. So players need to take responsibility, and I think in a way I'm hopeful and I'm positive lah in a way that it will bring better United. I hope. Tapi dalam masa sama pun, Rim, by saying that, I skeptical sikit juga. Why I said skeptical sikit? We had Jose Mourinho one time, you know, his experience in EPL, in Champions League. We had Louis van Gaal, which is a winner. You know, we had Ole, experience in Premiership juga. And yes, Erik ten Hag had his own philosophy, his own style. We can see that with Ajax. But to step up in Premiership, his first club, ambil United pula tu. So I don't know. I don't want to put my hopes high terus cakap like yes, this is it. Because I've been doing that for the past 3-4 managers. I think the rest of United fans pun macam tu. So again, I'm using the word reda and take one step at a time. And don't give too much hope sampai you sendiri pressure. But seeing what I'm seeing with Ten Hag punya style, with Ajax and all, yes, adalah that excitement you're looking forward to.
But I guess the good thing as well is the fact that the expectation is so low at the moment, especially amongst the fans, that maybe, you know, the pressure is off him and he can do exactly what he wants. Macam he's not pressured to, like, you know, get the wins straight away and start competing for the title.
But
do you know what I mean?
I have to disagree with that, Rim. Sebab again, that's the danger when you jump from Ajax. No disrespect to Eredivisie. Ajax, PSV, this is the 2 most successful club there. But you play in the Premiership where you get Burnley dekat bawah and then suddenly boleh beat team yang, you know, and then
Chelsea.
Wolf yang you pandang sebelah mata and then suddenly perform like their peak Barcelona. So it's a different level. And yes, the expectation is maybe low, But again, it's Manchester United. You are not taking Bournemouth. You are not, managing Bolton Wanderers. So, in a way, for us to say that, yes. But I'm pretty sure Erik ten Hag with the board will, we need something
have
soon.
a plan.
Yeah.
Ellie, what's your controversial question?
Sultan, you want to ask me? Ask, please.
I'm very,
floor is
very
yours.
intrigued with this one line that you used because I like how you said that players should take responsibility.
Okay.
But looking at the bigger picture, at the end of the day, it's not really 100% players' fault. And I know you're not blaming the players, but one thing that we have to understand as well, the players are here because of the board.
Okay.
When you have a board with that trend of giving unnecessary contract extensions to big names who you don't even plan to give minutes to, and signing all these unnecessary players like Cristiano Ronaldo as well on a different basis, not for the purpose of for the betterment of the club or for the growth of the squad, but just it's a last minute thing, right? Like, just for the sake of him not to go to City and all that. It would lead to all these kind of consequences, whatever happening in the dressing room Manchester United, something for other clubs to learn from as well. One. Second, I want to ask you this one thing, right? So because, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but Sir Alex Ferguson still holds the position on the board because the board followed through with his advice to appoint David Moyes as well years ago, and on the first appointment, 6 years worth of contract. But after whatever that they were trying to expect from David Moyes was not delivered because it's such a big scale of a club for Moyes to take for his first season at MU and for him to be placed all these kind of unnecessary expectations, and to see that Moyes came and left, and now he's thriving at West Ham, right? And then all these big names came after him. Do you think it's necessary?
Like ini pula.
Do you think it's necessary? I'm trying to word it in the best way, I'm trying to come up with a diplomatic question.
Tak payah, you tembak je.
Do you think it's necessary, or is it relevant still to have Sir Alex sitting on the board? If he's the one dictating or having influence on all these kind of decisions.
At the end of the day, we don't know how much influence does he have pun. He says that they go to Ferguson for advice on who's the next coach, who's the next this. We wouldn't know how much impact pun.
Okay, now assuming that he does have influence, do you think it's relevant to keep him around?
I think yes.
Do you think it's
Alex
toxic?
Ferguson, one of the
emotional punya response kan dari Farish
do you
ni.
think it's toxic?
No.
I would just use the word.
I think it's United not being able to let go of the past.
Yeah, but
if they keep him there.
Again, Ferguson being there, I don't think it, like you said, players tak perform, tak boleh salahkan players juga.
100% lah. Still say players need to step up.
It's the same thing with Ferguson for me. I tak rasa dia banyak impact pun being there, being in the board. Like what? The manager's pressured by him, being there? Or
to an extent.
Commercial signings, I don't know, all this kind of direction, whatever, the board has to say on. So I'm just, because why I'm asking you, because I've been thinking, what if, Wenger left out of different bitumen, something happened, right? But I'm thinking, if Wenger was still around, would a new manager, tak kisah Arteta or anyone else, would be able to carry the squad in the direction that, you need a fresh direction to move forward, because we're talking about
Arsenal is not there yet as well.
Yeah, that's why.
But I think what she means is the fact that I don't know, but to sum it up, you will always be whoever manager yang comes in pun will always be in the shadow of Sir Alex Ferguson for as long as he's there. Kan, macam as much as you want to refresh the club, but at the end of the day, the eyes of SAF will always be there.
Still there and all.
Yeah.
I don't know. You ask my opinion. I don't think so. I'm not so sure. I'm speaking. Other fans
it's face value
well. I think it's bigger than that. If it's other pun, maybe I don't know 5-10% of it, which is big actually. But it is more on like I mentioned earlier, the players, the board, and we have to stop. Have short plans.
I
would say short
Stop
plans.
being impulsive as well.
Impulsive decisions. Short
you
plans.
need to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, like what happened with Ronaldo lah paling senang lah. He's Cristiano Ronaldo, but at the end of the day, looking back,
because now your first squad is filled with 21 players who are signed under 5 different managers and 6 academy graduates. Yeah. So I'm thinking the amount of homework or spring cleaning that Ten Hag had to do. But also goes back to what you mentioned just now. It's very funny to see Rangnick, your current manager, like publicly spilling how 6 to 10 players are not going to find their way back here. It's okay. Like, you know what? I need to stop comparing to Arteta, because Arteta is the kind, like, when we sometimes the media post these kind of questions to him, how he always answered, he's still one of us. I'm not having conversation about that. It's very different, lah. But we all know the mood memang different pun.
Because I think Rangnick is accept the decision, like, you know, like he's been there for the past few months, and he knows that, you know, the next manager should have his own team, and certain players just need to go.
Speaking of players that need to go and spring cleaning, and speaking of players not taking responsibility in the Liverpool match, Paul Pogba, is this the last of him that we have seen? Because I think his contract ends in June. What's next for him? I mean, obviously, you don't see a future for him in United.
I'm always, you know, every time Pogba kena bash, I'm always the one who will back him up, you know. Same with Maguire, all this while, because I think, yeah lah, you know the quality of Pogba. But I think it goes back to what Reem just said. Yeah, I think it's time lah for him. And with Erik ten Hag coming in, I'm pretty sure he wants someone that gives I don't know, more of his style kind of play, which is Pogba has already been under what? Mourinho, Ole, Rangnick.
Past 6 years.
So you can see just like an average Pogba, he steps up when he wants to, you know.
Yeah, they don't play him in the right.
Bila I turun hari ni, I nak jadi Paul Pogba, Juventus.
So not playing for the team, basically, just playing for himself lah.
Pogba's situation is definitely one of the indicators. One of the many things that the board got it wrong. What if you spend that summer rebuilding the team around Pogba instead? Yeah. What if that summer you chose, this is the best time for us to sell Pogba and get the value out of him, for us to bring back more essential players for the squad? But no, because Manchester United, together with other big clubs, but they're slowly moving away from the trend. But United is
which
like
is the
obviously
big name
still
players you want them.
Big name, yeah, the big players that you want. One, second, we have you guys. Not we. We didn't share the same club. Like we had this trend, or we had this habit of always wanting to delay things just to see the circumstances get worse and worse. You don't want to make you guys can make impulsive decision on buying players, but you guys can't make impulsive decision on when it comes to letting certain players go or tweak the direction, rebuilding the team around Pogba. Pogba is such a world-class player, but I feel like macam he couldn't find his kaki dekat Manchester United.
Same thing like saya Aubameyang lah, sama je. You know, the
that's
situation is the same.
I'm very happy to see Aubameyang dekat Barca.
So sometimes you know it's good for both sides to just like be sensible and like okay, let's move on. You know,
much needed. But it takes a radical decision lah, which masa tu I think MU macam like not brave enough. Probably.
Then again, like going back to berapa manager dah manage Pogba. You know, like of course this one like say let go. Mourinho kata let go, and then come Ole say like no, I can still use you.
Betul.
So
I totally agree.
Have to come in and say like, look, this is my players, this is how I'm going to play, back me up, or you know like.
I agree.
Here's hoping he gets Erik ten Hag gets a bigger say lah than all the previous managers in United.
Kecewa lama lah, 7-8 years.